Anime used to be something you watched quietly, preferably with headphones on, hoping no one would walk in and ask why people are yelling in Japanese for 5 straight minutes. Now, it's on billboards, in fashion, on Netflix homepages, and somehow part of everyday conversation. At some point, anime stopped being that weird thing and became normal. But when did that happen? And more importantly, how? I'm Professor Everything, and today we'll be answering the question, how did anime become mainstream? Right here on Explaining Everything. Anime didn't become mainstream all at once. It snuck in quietly through gateway shows. These were the anime that didn't feel intimidating. You didn't need cultural context. You didn't need subtitles. And you definitely didn't need to explain yourself to your parents. Shows like Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Sailor Moon aired on regular TV, usually right after school. You'd come home, drop your bag, turn on the TV, and suddenly you were emotionally invested in a 12-year-old fighting a space tyrant who refuses to stay dead. The key thing? These shows felt familiar. They had action, humor, clear heroes and villains, and simple goals. Catch the Pokemon. Save the world. Power up for 5 episodes straight. Kids didn't even realize they were watching anime. It was just cartoons, but cooler. Once people were hooked, curiosity kicked in. If this anime was good, what else was out there? That curiosity became the first crack in the wall between niche fandom and mainstream culture. Here's the sneaky part. Anime aged alongside its viewers. The kids who watched anime in the early 2000s didn't stop watching. They just wanted something deeper. And anime was ready. Suddenly there were stories about identity, trauma, philosophy, and moral gray areas. Shows like Death Note, Attack on Titan, and Full Metal Alchemist weren't just entertaining. They were conversation starters. Anime proved it could tell stories that live-action TV was scared to touch. Big ideas, long arcs, consequences that actually mattered, and characters who didn't magically reset after every episode. People realized anime wasn't childish, it was just animated. And once that mental shift happened, the stigma started collapsing. You weren't watching cartoons. You were watching a story. A really intense one, possibly while crying. This is where anime gained respect. Not just fans, but people who previously wrote it off started paying attention. If television planted the seeds, the internet dumped fertilizer on anime and screamed, "Good luck ignoring this!" Streaming platforms removed the biggest barrier: access. You didn't need shady DVDs or a friend who knew a guy. Suddenly, anime was one click away. Subtitles were instant, episodes were fast, and binge-watching became the norm. At the same time, memes exploded. Anime screenshots became reaction images. Scenes got clipped, remixed, and shared everywhere. Even people who had never watched anime knew the faces, the poses, the dramatic screaming. Online communities also normalized being an anime fan. Instead of feeling alone, people found entire spaces where anime was the default language. Liking anime stopped being weird. It became social. Once something is shareable, memeable, and constantly online, it's no longer niche. It's culture. At some point, anime stopped trying to be accepted, and that's when it won. It didn't beg for approval, didn't water itself down, and definitely didn't stop being dramatic just to seem normal. Anime basically said, "This is who I am." And somehow the entire world went, "Yeah, that actually slaps." Suddenly, anime wasn't just something you watched alone in your room at 2 a.m. Artists were openly talking about their favorite shows. Athletes were celebrating wins with anime poses. Celebrities were casually dropping anime references in interviews like it was no big deal. Fashion brands started using anime aesthetics. Streetwear leaned hard into anime graphics, and music videos began borrowing anime-style visuals. Anime wasn't knocking on the door of pop culture anymore. It was already inside, feet up on the couch, asking what's for dinner. What really helped anime stand out was something Western media often struggled with: sincerity. Anime wasn't afraid to be emotional, dramatic, or completely unhinged. Characters cried hard, screamed harder, and had emotional breakdowns in the rain like it was a sport. And instead of feeling fake, it felt honest. Big feelings weren't embarrassing. They were the point. Anime didn't become mainstream because it changed who it was. It became mainstream because everyone else finally caught up. It entered quietly through TV, grew up alongside its audience, exploded online, and refused to apologize for being itself. What was once niche is now everywhere, not because it tried to fit in, but because it offered something different, emotional, and unforgettable. And once people realized anime could make them laugh, cry, overthink life at 2 a.m., and argue online for hours, there was no going back. It wasn't just entertainment anymore. It was part of how people connected. So the next time someone says, "Wait, you like anime?" just smile. They're about 10 years late. If you enjoy this video and learned how anime went from weird cartoons to global domination, please like and subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.